Okay, so today we are launching straight into a sonic journey, a
Oh.
really rapid tour of music traditions from all over the globe.
And we're not just talking about notes here. The point is that music is maybe the most powerful way that societies tell their stories.
Exactly. It's about their history, their beliefs, their emotions. We want to understand how people make sound and really why they do it.
Before we jump in, though, we should probably talk about that term you always hear, world music.
Oh, right, that big catch-all category.
Yeah, and it's tricky because it's not really a genre. It's a marketing label, you know? The music industry came up with it to group together sounds from, well, basically non-Western cultures.
Africa, Asia, South America, all lumped together.
All lumped together. And
Sure.
musicians themselves, they often don't love it. They'd much rather you say you're listening to Brazilian samba or West African high life.
Because world music just flattens everything into one folder. It removes all the detail.
It really does. So today, let's try and restore some of that detail. Why don't we start in sub-Saharan Africa?
Let's do it. Home to some of the most complex and just exciting rhythms on the planet.
For sure. And the key concept, the thing that makes it so amazing, is polyrhythms.
Okay, so polyrhythms. It's not just one steady beat like a pop song.
Yeah.
It's playing multiple rhythms at once.
Exactly. Imagine trying to play two or even three completely different patterns that actually clash with each other, but they're all happening at the same time.
It's like that old pat your head and rub your stomach challenge, but for music.
That's a perfect way to describe it. The rhythms are separate, but they lock together and create this incredibly dense, layered sound. It's almost like they're having a conversation.
And that rhythm is just, it's everything in the culture, right?
Mm.
It's seen as the community's heartbeat.
It is. Traditional songs there aren't for passive listening. They're meant for everyone to join in clapping, dancing, singing back. Every major life event, from a birth to a harvest, has its rhythm.
And the instruments driving that are amazing, like the djembe.
The djembe, yeah. That's a rope-tuned drum with a skin cover, and you play it with your bare hands.
And a really good player can get, what, 3 different sounds out of it.
3 distinct tones. A deep bass, a mid-range tone, and a really sharp slap. It's very vocal.
But the talking drum is something else entirely.
Oh, it's incredible. The player squeezes the cords under their arm to change the drum's pitch.
So it can actually mimic the tones of a spoken language.
It can, which is why, historically, they were used to send really complex messages from one village to the next. It was basically telecommunication with a drum.
That is amazing. Okay, so from that very physical communal energy, let's shift gears. Let's go east to Indian classical music.
A completely different world. This is a super sophisticated spiritual art form that's been refined for literally thousands of years.
Right, and it's so structured. You have the 2 main branches, don't you?
We do. There's Hindustani music from the north, which has a lot of Persian influence, and then Carnatic music from the south.
And they are different in how they're played. Hindustani is more about improvisation.
Much more. A performer might spend a long time just exploring one single theme. Carnatic music is often more composed, based on really complex, established pieces.
But both of them rely on these two huge concepts. The first one being the raga.
The raga. And it's not just a scale like do-re-mi. It's more like a melodic recipe.
A recipe, I like that. It tells you the ingredients, the notes, but also how to use them.
And when to use them. Ragas are often linked to specific times of day or even seasons, like the monsoon. It sets the whole emotional mood of the piece.
And holding that melody together is the other pillar, the tala.
The tala. That's the rhythmic cycle. And we're not talking a simple 4/4 beat. Talas can be these huge cycles of 10, 14, or even more beats.
So the musician always has to come back to that core cycle. It's like time repeating itself.
Exactly. And the instruments are iconic. You have the sitar, of course.
The famous one, that long-necked instrument with the shimmering, echoey sound.
That sound comes from sympathetic strings that vibrate on their own, and it's often paired with the tabla.
The 2 little hand drums.
Right, played with just the fingers and palms. Mastering this music takes a lifetime because the goal isn't just a nice sound, it's a deep meditative experience.
Okay, let's keep moving east to China and Japan, where the whole musical feel is different, more subtle, maybe.
Definitely more subtle. The music there often features these really delicate, almost haunting melodies that are inspired by things like poetry or nature.
And part of that unique sound comes down to math, to the scale they use. It's the pentatonic scale, right?
That's a huge part of it. So Western music generally uses 7 notes in a scale. The pentatonic scale only uses 5.
Which means there are fewer notes that can clash with each other. It creates a more open, kind of elegant sound.
It does, and the instruments reflect that. In China, you have the gusheng. It's a big zither with a ton of strings you pluck. People say it sounds like flowing water.
And Japan has something similar, the koto, which is their national instrument. But I'm fascinated by the shakuhachi.
The bamboo flute. It's amazing. It's made from the root end of the stalk.
And it was used by monks for meditation.
That's right. Buddhist monks used it as part of their practice. The sound is meant to be a little bit breathy, a little imperfect. It reflects that connection between humans and nature.
Wow. Okay, so for a completely different kind of sound, we have to talk about the Middle East. The music there is built on a totally different system.
A totally different system. And the thing that makes it sound so unique is the use of quarter tones.
Quarter tones. So explain that. What does that actually mean?
It's exactly what it sounds like. On a piano, you have your basic notes, and then the black keys are half steps.
Right. C, then C sharp.
Exactly. Quarter tones are the notes in between C and C sharp. Notes a piano can't even play.
Whoa. So that's what gives the music that really expressive, almost vocal quality. It sounds so emotional.
It is. And the framework for those melodies comes from the maqams. They're like the Indian ragas. They're scales that set the whole mood and guide the emotional journey of the piece.
And what are the key instruments that bring a maqam to life?
Well, the foundational one is the oud. It's a pear-shaped lute with a short neck, and it's actually the ancestor of the guitar.
No way.
Yeah, it is. And for rhythm, you have the darbuka, which is a goblet-shaped drum that gives you those sharp, complex beats.
And because of the quarter tones, so much of it has to be improvised, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about showing your skill and your emotional connection to that specific maqam. It's beautiful.
Okay, let's switch from that structured melody to just pure energy. Let's go to Latin America and the Caribbean.
A true melting pot.
It really is. The music is this vibrant mix of indigenous traditions, European influences from Spain, and of course, African music. And it's almost always about dance.
You can hear that fusion so clearly. In Brazil, you have samba, that fast, syncopated rhythm that comes straight from West African drumming. It's the soul of carnival.
And then there's salsa from the Caribbean, which mixes Spanish guitar and horns with those powerful African-style drums like congas.
Right, and you hear different instruments all over. The accordion is huge in folk music in places like Argentina and Colombia.
And you can't miss the trumpets and violins of a Mexican mariachi band. So much energy.
But the Caribbean had this one totally unique invention, something created from almost nothing.
You're talking about the steel pan.
I am. It's one of the most incredible stories of creativity. It was invented in Trinidad and Tobago in the mid-20th century.
From old oil drums, right?
Discarded industrial oil drums, people took them, hammered them into these concave shapes to create different notes, and played them with rubber-tipped sticks.
And now that sound is a global symbol for the Caribbean. It's probably the only major acoustic instrument invented in the last 100 years.
It is. Okay, let's use that idea of local identity and jump back to Europe for a minute to talk about folk music.
Which is all about preserving local history and heritage.
Totally. And it's so different everywhere you go. In Ireland and Scotland, you have the fiddle and bagpipes playing these super fast jigs and reels for dancing.
Then in Spain, you've got flamenco passionate guitar, hand clapping, and that incredible rhythmic footwork from the dancer.
And sometimes music is born from pure necessity. Think about yodeling in the Swiss Alps.
That wasn't just for fun, was it?
Not originally, no. It was a way to communicate across huge distances between valleys using the natural echo.
That is so cool. That idea of preserving history, it connects directly to indigenous North American music.
It's a perfect parallel. This music is so deeply connected to nature and to spiritual beliefs.
And the most important elements are the human voice.
And the drum. The steady beat of the drum, which is often seen as the heartbeat of the earth itself.
Right. And the drums are often really large, played by a bunch of people at once in a ceremony.
Mm-hmm. And the flutes, usually made of wood or bone, are used for more solitary melodies. They're often made to mimic the sounds of birds or the wind.
The music is just vital for storytelling, for passing down history, especially at big gatherings like a powwow.
Exactly. It reinforces that cultural identity. Okay, let's make one more big jump to Southeast Asia, specifically Indonesia, to talk about the gamelan ensemble.
A gamelan is basically a whole orchestra made almost entirely of bronze percussion, right?
Yeah.
Gongs, batellophones.
Yeah, and when they all play together, you get this shimmering, complex wall of sound. But what's really fascinating is that there's no conductor.
No single leader. So how do they stay together?
Everyone has to listen intently to everyone else, especially the main drummer. It requires this kind of collective concentration. The group harmony is more important than any one person showing off.
And there's another weirdly specific thing about them, the tuning.
Yes, each gamelan set is tuned only to itself. You can't just take an instrument from one gamelan and use it in another. Each ensemble has its own unique sonic fingerprint.
That's wild, but, whether it's a huge gamelan or a single drum, the one instrument that is truly universal is the human voice,
Absolutely, and it's used in so many incredible ways.
like overtone singing.
Overtone or throat singing, yeah. A singer can manipulate their throat to produce two distinct notes at the same time. One low drone and a high whistling melody over it.
It sounds completely otherworldly.
It really does.
Yeah.
Or you have traditional Bulgarian singing, which uses this really tight, powerful vocal technique that can just pierce through the air. It's designed to carry for miles.
And so many cultures use vocable sounds that don't have a literal meaning, like hey ya or fa la la.
But they carry so much emotional and spiritual weight. The voice is, in the end, the main way history and culture get passed down.
So when you put all this together, what does it mean for us now?
It means the barriers are just gone. Technology, travel, it's mixing everything together faster than ever.
And you get fusion music.
Exactly. Blending styles. You might hear someone mixing jazz with Indian ragas or putting a string orchestra over African beats. The internet means you can hear traditional Mongolian music in an instant.
And that inspires whole new genres that don't belong to any one place. You hear it all the time in electronic music with samples of traditional instruments.
It just reminds you that even though we all speak different languages, everyone shares this basic fundamental love for rhythm and melody.
We've seen just how tied music is to history, to spirituality, to daily life in every single culture. The variety is just astonishing.
It really is. Sound might just be the most eloquent universal language we have.
So next time you listen to music from another culture, don't just ask what you're hearing. Ask yourself why it was made and what story it's trying to tell.
See you next time.